Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to another live stream slash recording of Hearthstone. Today is Tuesday, May 23rd, and we don't have that much to do really. Play 75 Murlocs, I can do that in probably 4 Murloc deck games. 20 beasts can be done in probably 3 beast games and win 3 games of any class. Now let's see if I can trade anything. No, I can't. I may have missed an opportunity to trade out this 40 because I've been overly focused on playing other games. So once the new update comes, which I haven't talked about it yet, I'll be able to play friends to do all the quests, and that's going to drastically improve and shorten the amount of time I have to spend to do these daily challenges, and I'm looking greatly forward to that because once you can get everything done here, I can just play with people online and not even have to go into this section. I guess we'll just start with the Murloc deck. And let's see, I guess we should just play ranked with Murloc since we'll get that done too. Loki's already online. He's saying, how's it going? It's going pretty good so far. Mostly the worst thing that's been happening is actually the chat just giving me trouble. Like Loki in particular should know that the last two times he has been on chat, I have not been able to see his comments at all, and it looked like I was just ignoring him, and that's not the case at all. It's that the chat simply was not showing me things. It times out. It doesn't show up. I have it open on 3 different pages to make sure I can see it. Clearly YouTube's just not fully set up for its live stream. Like, I have it opened in the web page on Chrome on my phone, I have it opened in the YouTube app, and I have it opened on the web browser. Now, there was just yesterday a tragedy, but I don't really have any news about it. The only thing I can say about the Manchester attacks, and this will be about it, is that the game Get Even has decided to delay their release, which isn't probably a terrible idea anyways, because that game seemed very weird. It was this half virtual reality, half escape room, half weird, I don't even know what the game was, thing, half horror, and it kind of looked like a little bit of everything. And oops, I should have probably just attacked. And so yeah, Get Even is going to be delayed, which maybe they'll be made a better game because of that. And in all honesty, that if more games got delayed, I'd be happier, particularly since I've just been playing the remake of King's Quest, the 2015 remake, and I am not happy at all with what happened there. It seemed like chapter 1 of that episodic game worked pretty well, and then chapters 2 through 5 were pretty bad. Loki responded, by the way, and said, good to hear. So yeah, I've been spending the past week playing King's Quest remaster reboot, and it's really a terrible thing. Basically, from what I can tell, since it was supposed to be a Telltale game, and it totally feels like a Telltale game, although there are a lot of attempts to do it do a little bit more, but the writing's even worse than an average like Telltale game nowadays. And I kind of liked Telltale games originally, but now they've gotten tired and worn out. And the gameplay mechanic and the storytelling mechanic really just screams that they're being lazy in making a game, and so that's it. Loki finally got a way to get notified on his PC. He had to add Gmail to my Windows client and VWALA. I don't know what's VWALA. Is that some kind of instant messenger app? Or is that just a misspelling? So for anybody who can't get notifications because their phone's too old, or they're not getting email notifications, Gmail notifications of my channel, apparently you can add Gmail to your Windows email client, which seems like, yeah, that would make sense. Let's do this first. And we've got to kill some people. This one's whenever you summon a minion with death rattle, so that's not gonna happen. Plus 2 health. To keep this one alive. Oops. Well, I guess this is gonna make you miss anyway, so I might as well just keep attacking. Let's see, Loki says VWALA. VV-WALA. I still have no idea what that stands for. It's V-Walla. Walla. Nope, never heard of it. But I'm glad Loki can get notifications, because Loki in particular is one of my best viewers, and there have been a couple of streams that have happened in between the last time he got on, and it has been really dead. Nobody came on, nobody chatted, and it was a quicker experience and gave me more time to be more efficient to do King's Quest, and I'm rather happy with the amount of output I did in that time, but it wasn't very fun. Let's see. Sound it out. Come on. V-Vawala. Vawala. Voila. Oh, is it? Oh, I see what he's doing. Sometimes I can be pretty thick. It's voila. V-O-L-A. Voila, as in French, like a magician might say. Voila. I'm particularly way more like technical minded as far as computer programs and programming, so if I see a bunch of letters, I don't think immediately that it's some kind of shortened text speech. I think that it's some kind of highly complicated, like, open source software that 5 people are working on GitHub. So if you told me there was a program called VVWALA, I'd go, of course there is. There's all kinds of programs like that. Let's see. try to kill these two. I may not win here, but I'm gonna probably get a decent amount of minions. Let's just go to the news. What is this? If you've played an elemental last turn, cast an elemental invocation. What's an elemental invocation? Well, I finally killed that guy. This, kill.
That's incredible.
In the turn. El Shaddai, a game I liked, I think we talked about this before, is getting a spiritual successor, question mark? I mean, the article called it a spiritual successor, but it seems to me like it's just a direct successor called The Lost Child. The only difference is now it's going to be an RPG instead of an action game, and it's going to be on PlayStation 4 and Vita, which for such a niche Japanese game, I'm not surprised that it's only going to be on PS4 and Vita. Maybe we'll see something more. I played that totally wrong. I could have gone the other way. There. So I would love to see that happen and things work out that way. I'd love to see it eventually become an issue where El Shaddai comes out to PC and we see more of those more niche Japanese games coming out to Steam, like we have seen Bayonetta and Vanquish come out. The striking voice actors, moving on, have said that some video game companies are agreeing to royalties, which frankly this is just bad negotiation. In the first part is the idea of telling the public what's going on in negotiations until you've got a finished deal. But what's really funny about this is that the voice actors for video games have gotten some companies to agree to a measly 1 day's pay extra in royalty for every 2 million in sales. So for every $2 million that a game makes, which I suppose it's very possible lots of games don't make $2 million in sales, but I would suspect games with voice acting in them would at least make $2 million in sales. The voice actors get 1 day's pay. Now, unless I'm totally wrong here, and they only work, and voice actors only work for like 2 weeks, and 1 day's pay is somewhere along the line of $40,000 to $80,000 for a single day's pay, which seems completely out of the realm of possibility. This is really, really low of a negotiations. But I suppose anytime a union tries to add a negotiation thing like this, they usually do go for small things. So in the first contract it'll be 1 day's pay. In the next contract it'll be 2 days pay. Or maybe it'll be 1 day's pay for every million, which is effectively doing the same. Or almost doing the same thing. It would get more royalties for people who make games that don't sell 2 million, make $2 million in dollars in sales. And this is limited up to 8 million, so in total you could get 4 extra days of pay. So literally just a week of pay. For normal people, if you were striking, is this really enough? Like, normal people getting minimum wage or even like $10 an hour, if you're getting $10 an hour, then a 1 day's 8 hours worth of pay would be $80. It's a relatively ridiculous amount of money that they've had to strike to just get that far. So it doesn't feel personally like they've made some great victory. Maybe they've broken some ground. I'm sure the companies didn't even want to do that. That inherently there's problems with this guy's not killing me, which is fine by me. There's problems with the idea of royalties, because then you just eventually create the movie industry and the music industry in particular, where nobody ever gets any royalties at all because they just do shady lies and accounting that says things like, there was recently a story where the makers of Spinal Tap were given like $23 in royalties for the movie that came out 40, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, probably, because of just shady accounting, where nobody gets any royalties, or they get checks for pennies when it should be a lot more. Moving on to the next story in shady business practices. I guess the two are rather related. I'm just going to keep playing here. There have now been layoffs at IO Interactive, so officially Hitman is doomed. Like, you can't think of anything different there. Once one person's out of the picture, you know that Square Enix had no intention of keeping that team together. The team is now separated, and I mean, possibly you could make the argument that they laid off some low-level, like, video game tester that didn't really matter that much, but I don't think so. I don't think that would even get announced if you laid off a video game tester, because I don't think they'd be under contract. I think you just hired them as a contractor per day, per week, and then you'd say, well, you fulfilled your contract, we're done. So when you start using the phrase layoffs, that's somebody that was actually a part of Square Enix and IO Interactive. And what this really comes down to is it just goes to show how politics in a corporate environment can ruin art, and the two should never be met. If we were ever so lucky that we could just fund art through I don't know, through donation or maybe government programs or something like that, or artists could simply make art while having a universal basic income or something, we could certainly get the corporate interests and the politics, much like the movie industry, where the new guy in charge of a movie company will just cancel / put out all the movies that were in production by the previous guy because it's not his baby and he doesn't care, and he'll just let those movies turn into garbage. In a lot of ways, that's well, oddly, that's what happened to the new Ghostbusters movie, is that the person who was in charge of it didn't really care about it. It seems like that's the case with the new reboot of Sci-Fi Channel, SYFY. They just dumped an entire season of 12 Monkeys out on the weekend, and then don't seem like they're going to do any reruns of it or try to air it again. And even after they dumped that entire season, it had only 10 episodes, which is odd too, because it should have been closer to 12 episodes. They're promising that there's going to be another season, but they seem to almost assuredly have only done that because they wanted to get it off their plate so that they could do their own reboot of the Sci-Fi Channel and not involve a project that the new guy wasn't in charge of. So, and that's the same thing that happened with Square Enix and IO Interactive, is that IO Interactive kind of just got bought, and now Square Enix wants to do Final Fantasy games and Japanese games, and they don't want to focus or deal with other people. Got another comment from Loki. I'm glad he's... do you like Star Trek or Star Wars? A basic thing. The right answer for me is Babylon 5. I do like Star Trek, and I've played a lot more Star Wars games because there aren't that many Star Trek games. And I like Star Trek a little bit more than I like Star Wars. I think I'm almost out of cards. The issue with Star Wars in particular is you have a somewhat more simplistic story because it's just 7 movies compared to Star Trek, which I think has, let's see, there was probably 7 movies just from the original crew, and then there was like 3 more movies from the Next Generation. I don't think Star Trek has made any like direct-to-video movies. And then when you look at Star Trek over its lifetime, you have Star Trek the original series, which is 3 seasons, the Next Generation, which is like 5 seasons, Deep Space Nine, which is like 5 seasons. Deep Space Nine in particular is just a complete stealing of Babylon 5, or vice versa. You have Voyager, which went 3 or 4 seasons. You have Enterprise, which went about 3 seasons. A lot of Star Trek is garbage, undoubtedly, but you can selectively edit in your memory and get the best parts of out of Star Trek and have just more content, heavier, more thought out content than the 7 movies. I still haven't even seen the 7th Star Wars movie. Star Wars has like 10 or 11 now. Really? Does Star Wars have... Well, I mean, 11 movies? There's 7 movies plus Rogue One, which would make 8. And then I guess if you went with the remasters and remakes of the movies and considered them separately, and you're not throwing in things like the Christmas special, which I guess might be 1 movie, you might get up to something close to 10 or 11 movies. But each movie has to, just because it's a movie, be this simplified story that's mostly focused on one thing. And Star Wars, in a lot of ways, just repeats itself on the same theme. It's variations on the theme, where when you look at the good episodes from the first Star Trek, which there really aren't too many of them. You can throw out the 3rd season of the original series of Star Trek completely because nobody cared about that season and Gene Roddenberry left. Which, frankly, it's kind of odd. Gene Roddenberry did a good job in season 1 and 2 of the original series of Star Trek, and then it left, and then the 3rd season's pretty bad. And then Gene Roddenberry came back and caused a lot of conflict in the Star Trek The Next Generation, and so The Next Generation really didn't even get good until he was gone. So at one point he was helpful, and then he stopped being helpful, and the series moved on. Gene Roddenberry in particular didn't... the past 4 new movies count. So let's see. So he's counting the remakes. I want to get Star Wars on Blu-ray, but I don't even know what the right versions, or if there are good versions of Star Wars to get, because I they need to, and hopefully once Disney, now that Disney's in charge, they need to say on a Blu-ray, here's the original cut, here's the original cut with the enhanced effects and nothing else changed, and then here's the special editions where George Lucas changed some of the story. Because I see a clear dividing line there is between a original cut and then George Lucas did a director's cut. And he may have also done a remastered version and a director's cut and had several director's cuts, much like what's that movie, Blade Runner. Like there's 12, not 12, but there's close to 4 different cuts of Blade Runner on the Blu-ray, and you just kind of have to do some research and figure out that you should probably watch the theatrical version of Blade Runner. I'm a little interested in seeing that Blade Runner movie. The one that's coming up doesn't count. It says Loki. But comparing the story of Star Trek, which has separate stories, and I wasn't hugely big into the longer running things. Like there's things in Star Trek where the warp field was destroying space and they had to limit their speeds, and that gets brought up and then kind of mentioned every now and then, but there's always an emergency, so they always violate the speed limit that they're supposed to be following. Things like that don't happen in Star Trek enough for it to really be important to follow. The biggest whole plot line through the Next Generation is Q, and Q is the he's in the first episode and the last episode, and he was very interesting, but if you were just to watch the Q episodes alone, I still don't think you'd be seeing the best of the Next Generation, and I love the Next Generation a lot more than anything else. All of the first series is almost 100% separate. There's a slight plot line from the pilot where the captain before Kirk comes back at the end, or near the end. But when you compare that to Babylon 5, which has 5 movies and 5 seasons, and then about 3 more direct-to-video things that came out a lot later and aren't as important. Babylon 5, in particular, had this story plotted out in the man who wrote its head. He's a movie, TV director / comic book writer. He's pretty crazy, but he plotted everything out from the beginning. He knew exactly what was going to happen at the end of season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5 in such a great way that it made such a better TV series than most TV series, where they just hope to get renewed, and next season they'll try to do something that's almost exactly the same as the previous season. You can see this in things like Supernatural, or if you go back and watch that one with the witches. What was that one called? I've forgotten it. Or Buffy the Vampire Slayer is another good example. All those series were just hoping to continue to be available. Did I play another game? I think I played another game when I shouldn't have. I've gotten caught up in talking. So if they had canceled Babylon 5 in episode 1 or 2, it would have been terrible. So I recommend everybody see it. It's not on TV. You kind of want to watch the first movie So you get on Blu-ray, if it's even available on Blu-ray, or I have it on DVD, the movie collection, and then you watch the first movie, and then you watch the first season, and then there's some more research, but I think after each season you watch all the other movies, and it works together to tell a very good series. It's pretty old now, but it's way more entertaining to me, and way more deeper in its themes than Star Trek or Star Wars by far. There's very few episodes that don't have at least a significant amount of plot detail for the overall plot. There may be one or two in the entire 5 seasons of the TV series that weren't hand produced and written by the creator, and he was certainly working very hard, and maybe that's why he eventually started acting a little crazy. So that's my Babylon 5 rant, which is a rant I've pretty much had in my pocket for a while now. Now, how many Murlocs did we play? We played a 39 of 75. Spectate Loki, not right now. Wait till I'm done with all the news and these things, and then we can play or spectate. So, anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.